dos olhos meus e a luz dos olhos teus resolvem se encontrar. Ai, que bom que isso é, meu Deus, que frio que me dá o encontro desse olhar. Mas se a luz dos olhos teus resiste aos olhos meus só pra me provocar, meu amor, juro por Deus, me sinto incendiar. Meu amor, juro por Deus que a luz dos olhos meus já não pode esperar. Quero a luz dos olhos meus na luz dos olhos teus sem mais lararará. Pela luz dos olhos teus eu acho meu amor e só se pode achar que a luz dos olhos meus precisa se casar.
The Run Part 2. They looked around trying to locate her, but they couldn't see her being so high in the branches and in the darkness of the night. Mary had two options, to wait there in silence and hope for the best or to try to run behind their back before they could bring more attention to where she was. But then she noticed another man approaching from behind the tree and had an idea. She slowly started coming down the tree, grabbing her knife and starting to cut a small branch above the first group. When the last one was close enough, she let the branch to fall, hitting one man and one dog. With the noise, the last man shoots in the direction of the noise and took down another foreman for her. Once her position was compromised, she jumped over the last man with an unloaded shotgun, let herself fall heavy over the man's body, then rolled and recovered her position. He wasn't moving. Mary started to run but stopped with the sound of the voice of the foreman behind her back and the growling of his dog. She was tired of feeling afraid, fighting for her life and grieving for Tilia, that she adopted like Nana did with her before. The foreman had his gun pointed to her, and before she could think and fight back, more men were arriving from the woods. So, she closed her eyes, thinking about the very few memories she had of home, her family there and here, and a life she imagined and herself happy. Mary called for her ancestors, asking them not to let her lose her courage and her faith in the end, and closed her eyes so she could die in peace. Mary listened to a battle cry and opened her eyes. She watched astonished when a black man, over 6 feet tall, came running in the dark from behind her and attacked. He was so strong it was impressive, wearing a dark blue tunic, necklace and bracelets made of iron and cowries, barefoot, and had a sword on his hand that looked like a mirror. The reflection in the sword made her invisible to the eyes, even for Mary's special vision, and she could only tell what it was because of the drops of water running over the surface and forming the shape. The man was shot in the chest before he reached the white men, but he barely moved and continued attacking, taking down each one of them with no difficulty at all. The dogs ran away barking, which alerted the foreman around and brought more attention to where she was. Her savior then looked at her and pointed to the woods behind her using his sword. She thanked him and started running that way, listening to the sounds of battle far and far away. Mary was dripping blood from the bite all the way, so she was hoping that her hero didn't spare the dogs from his sword. Her confidence and faith increased with what she understood as a demonstration of power from her ancestors. Now she had to run faster because the rain was stopping. There was a road crossing the woods and Mary decided to follow in parallel from between the trees, hoping it was going to lead her to the bottom of the mountains. She started feeling dizzy because of the loss of blood when she saw a cemetery behind a church and decided to rest there for a little bit. With no sign of the foreman, she believed that it was safe for now. The weakness of her wound made her pass out. She didn't know for how long, but she immediately put herself up and moving. When crossing the cemetery, Mary saw a wood cart. There was an old man wearing a straw hat in the cart, talking to someone. What she realized when get closer, that was a skinny donkey pulling his cart. He was riding alone, carrying a full cart of wheat. He was slowly passing the back entrance of the cemetery when she saw some light from lamps in the woods, and believing it was the men hunting her, she decided to try to get into the wheat without being noticed. Mary came closer, very slowly and carefully, trying to be silent as a cat, and before she could try it, the cart stopped. The old man then said out loud, "You are welcome to come with me, my dear, I can hide you." Mary never trusts unknown people, but with the fast approach of the foreman, she ran to the cart to hide in the wheat. The old man said, "No, not in the wheat, come here with me," slapping the bench next to him. She didn't have much time to argue, so she listened to the man planning to jump to the back in the first opportunity. Once she was in the cart, Mary only had time to notice that, behind his hat, there was the face of a man covered with scars, before the donkey started to run in a speed that she would never imagine it could. Mary holds tight to her sit, and the old man laughed at her surprise. He looked at her and said, "My dear, their horses are fast, and we can't run for that long, so I will need you to trust me, can you?" Mary didn't have that much of a choice, so she nodded her head. A while later, the old man stopped the cart and looked at her. "We are almost in the town, and that's no good for you, but follow north," he said, pointing the woods, "and you will find your path again. Now, you don't move or speak, no matter what happens, or what you heard." She waved her head again to agree. The old man then took his hat off and put in her head, and she could see that he had a very kind expression, before the hat swallowed her body completely and she found herself sitting in the dark. Without a move, she looked around only with her eyes, confused, but also impressed at the same time. Then, Mary felt the cart starting to move very slowly again, and the old man started humming a song of hope. A few moments later, Mary heard the horses approaching, and with them, a male voice yelling, "Hey, stop! What do you have in your cart?" "Wheat, sir. I must deliver to the town by the morning," Mary listened to the old answering. "So, you don't mind if we check it, do you?" And without waiting for an answer, Mary felt the cart moving and listened to the sound of hits in the wood in the sides of the cart and wheat falling from it, as if the foreman were looking for her inside the packs. She was paralyzed, not knowing if they would find her, or knowing where. She actually was. "Nothing here," the male voice yelled again, "let's go." And then, Mary listened to the sound of the horses moving away from them. Next, she saw a light, then her feet again, and her whole body emerging from the darkness of whatever was covering her, what seemed to be a hat. "You are safe for now, but I'm afraid I can't take you any longer. The foreman followed the road ahead of me, which gives you some time, especially if they stop other people. You must hurry and be very careful. Now go," the old said with a kindness that she very rarely received before. Mary went out of the cart and thanked the man, running back to the woods as fast as she could. When she looked over her shoulder a few seconds later, he was gone. Mary then realized that, inside that hat, her wounds from the dog bite healed completely, and she wasn't even feeling so tired anymore. Once more she prayed, asking for the blessings of the Olhos for that good man, and to everyone that was taking care of her that night. After what she had witnessed, Mary knew that the spirits were helping her and were running by her side. Mary walked through the woods to the base of the mountain's track and sat for a moment to rest. In her visions, she saw those mountains many times while she was giving guidance to those who ran away before her. Since Mary started having her visions, she has helped many people to escape. That has been her purpose in life since her youth. Every time she could see a path opening, she would guide some of her people to go, and most of them were never captured again. Her secret was never told to white people, because everyone wanted their chance to escape, and those that already had it but failed were grateful enough to protect her. Also, she believed that the pain they were going through made them bind and protect each other every time it was possible. Like what they had done with Tilia the first time the old pig laid his eyes on her. Tilia was 14 years old. She was close to Mary in a group of women. Nana was leading, very early in the morning, the walk to the crops to work, when the pig came from the road and started walking around the groups. He liked to pick the young, healthy and pretty, and Tilia was one of the ones that caught his attention. She and others were being pulled and being tied to the pig's horse. Tilia was terrified and resisting the foreman when he hit her with the back of his hand. The old pig then yelled at him, "Don't ruin it, I like them perfect." Nana then grabbed a rock on the floor and Mary tried to hold her, believing she was going to fight with the foreman. Instead, Nana cut Tilia's face with the rock, as deep and long as she could, sparing some blood over the foreman and throwing the bloody rock at the pig. Tilia fell to the floor in tears, looking at Nana with an incredulity face, mixing pain and despair.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Check out our website to read more tales. www.foresttales.com